Awesome. Okay. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Um, so the basic idea here behind me creating this is I had a Excel spreadsheet that was massive. It was 7 megabytes and it was pretty cool, but it would crash all the time, and it wasn't very versatile in the way of looking back at what you had done, and new days weren't versatile, and it was pretty slow because it was so big. And I think there's huge value in tracking what you do on a day-to-day basis, and being able to reference that, and also being able to use that in the future, and being able to plan your workouts, and just be really organized about how you're running practices. And so I think that the problem number one is that coaches have a hard time being organized in their workout writing, and where it should go, and maybe even planning out in advance. And problem number two is, in order to really have athletes move forward as best as they can, you need some individualized workouts for them. And that can be, that can seem like a pretty daunting task, individualizing workouts for your whole team, or it can take a long time. And if you're not individualizing for your whole team one-on-one, you're definitely individualizing by group, right? So you have one group that's doing one thing and another group that's doing another thing. um, so the basic premise here is to make your life easier and more organized, by um, being able to write workouts in one place and have them all in one place, and being able to plan your season and your workouts out in an organized fashion. So um, I'm probably going to end up jumping back and forth a little bit. Um, so I'm gonna start off by um, logging into a profile that I've created recently. Um, and so this is a profile that doesn't have any athletes in it. This is essentially, what you guys have gotten already. And I went through the prompts. So it's already, you go in here and you click write a workout. And so it makes you an example athlete, and then you have this accessory category. So um, I will quickly, I don't remember what day I made this. So I made it on the 19th. So we're going to go back to the day that I actually logged in. Um, so, there's some direction here, and how you can write a workout. Um, and so essentially what's happening here is I've broken up writing workouts into to two different categories. And so the categories are accessory, and then individual. So accessory is something like the things that everybody's going to do. So warm up is a great example. What else I've been stretching. If you have standardized stretching that your team is going to do in a day, it's pretty likely that most of the stuff in here is going to be team wide, right? Or that you're going to have something day to day that's going to happen team wide, that you don't want to be individualizing, right? You don't want to be um, writing the same thing over and over again. Or even if you have different groups, right? Like copy, paste into different documents, and depending on how things go. But basically, things that everybody does. And so then you have your individual workouts, and these your individuals. And so another thing you can do, like this is an example athlete, right? But you can also, you could definitely make an athlete that was called a group. So for example, you know, gold group, right? And so then, it's maybe likely, especially I would say in a club setting, that for most of your groups, you're going to have, um, everybody doing more or less the same thing. And so this is all the stuff that's been filled in here. Um, this is a a template, and these are just random dives, but kind of viewing what it ends up looking like for writing the workout. And so, just a quick overview. Um, you'll write your workout, and then I have this thing called mobile view. And so what I've done is I have moved from printing out paper workouts every day um, to just putting it all on an iPad. And which has been amazing because half the time I was writing a workout and it was like right before practice was supposed to start, or I got distracted and I was finishing before practice started, and then all of a sudden my printer won't print. 100 different things that you run into, and this really actually takes quite a bit of time out of writing workouts. Or anyways, that part of writing workouts. So you have this mobile view, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly log in to my my Mizzou account, and that's going to make it a little more self-explanatory of what's going on, or easier to see how it works. Sorry, typing and talking at the same time. So So you would go in here to write workouts, and there's a quick way to go to that view screen. That's what that was. But so mobile view. So obviously I haven't written anything for today yet, but I can go back and I can say, you can look at any day that you've written workouts for. So I'm sure I've written something for the 14th. So this is kind of what you're looking at on a day-to-day basis. So this is that accessory that I've talked about, right? And it'll show at the top of any view that you have. And so also I'm going to try and be as clear and concise and quick as possible. But you can show up to 10 individuals in one iPad screen. And so right now I have 5 members on the team. And so you can also put this accessory in one of the boxes over here, like you can see. And you can also save, views so that you can go back and reference the views later. So if you have like the group 1 view or group 2 view, and so then those views will be saved here. But so you can also hide that that view, and so then this is what our iPad looks like every day. So everybody looks at the top left for their accessory. So we have some mobility, warm up, stretching, skill work, entries. And then I always have a workout focus, and then they have their own individual workouts that they can go through. And so they'll go through and they'll check off, I've done this. And then you can also customize ratings and then also comments. I've just recently finished the comments, so they can enter in, thoughts or whatever that they have. But I've found that people that like lists, or that are checker offers really enjoy this. And then other people who like don't care, it's pretty easy to just say, okay, I finished my whole workout. So anyways, going back to writing workouts. So I will go back to this screen. Actually, I can probably show you in here. So day by day you'll go in and write workouts, and you can show. So I have a lot of things shown here because I found that it's much faster to write workouts like this. But you can say, well, at the beginning of the day you come in here and you say, well, I'm not going to write this and this today, but I am going to have a post workout today. And so when you hover off of that, it'll update and it'll show only the things that you're writing in that day. And then, for your individuals, it's pretty much the same thing. So, I have a bunch of different, places that I can write in. So, the den, that's our dry land area, and categorized out. And then the pool, we have that. So I personally write workouts categorized by board, and then I let them move through their workout however they want to move through their workout. Most of them are pretty good about they're pretty good about knowing how to move through a workout. And obviously they'll look through their 1 meter, and if there's a buildup for 3 meters, they'll just put that. They'll just kind of bounce around. I've also found that, just as a side note, that really allows for, especially if you have a lot of people doing a workout like that, kind of they'll naturally just spread out. And then you don't have people just like all sitting on 1 meter or all sitting on one board. Like, nobody really wants to sit in a line, so they'll kind of like move around where they don't have to sit in a line. Just a kind of a side note. But so, the great thing about this, though, is it doesn't really matter how I do it. You can come in here and you can say, you can add or edit these locations. So it's broken up into locations and apparatuses for those locations. So your auxiliary has, your accessory used to be called auxiliary. These are all the ones that it has. And so you can make things, I don't use this anymore. I don't use this anymore, but I don't really want to get rid of it. So I just make them inactive, and then you can't see them. You can add them down here. If you like to write your springboard in more of a chronological order, I have a springboard category that I would make active, or you can just add it. I'm just going to make it active. And then we'll come back here. And so I'm going to write in today, and I'll kind of just show you it, how the writing in it works. What's today? The 26th. So you come to the 26th, and now I'm not going to write in there, but I am going to write in my springboard only. So if I was writing like a springboard workout, I'd say 103B. So disclaimer, I think that there's a bunch of different ways to write workouts, in your mind. And I think this kind of allows, it's very Excel style, right? So this is arrow up, arrow down, tab, shift tab to go backwards and forwards, return will go down. If you end up on something you've already written, it highlights it all. So I tried to make it as close to a quick move around Excel as you can. So what I do is I kind of go through and I write what I think needs to happen. And then I go through and fill out the smaller details of it. So, for this, we're gonna do the progression for a front 2.5 on 3 meter, right? So I might go 101B, 103B, 103B, 104B, 105B. And so then this level, in all of these categories, you can kind of put things however and wherever you want, but in the level, you can make it, so I'm gonna go 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3. And so when you save this, which you can either click Save Changes, or you can press Command Save or Control Save on a Windows, it automatically adds the 1, and it kind of tells them where they're supposed to do it. You can add reps in here, something like that. I mean, obviously these are whatever. And so then, it kind of just naturally organizes. I'll then go through and say, well, I want this to be 3 bounce. I want this to be 3 bounce. I want this to be competition start or hurdle. So I think, I think you get the gist there. But then it all comes, programmed out. So there's a couple of different ways that you can also copy a workout. So let's say, well, I'm going to have, I'm going to have all of my team do this basic template. So I'm going to say, there's a couple of ways to do it, but I think this is the easiest. So I'm going to say advanced copy, and I'm going to say, okay, Sarah's doing this stuff, but I also want my whole team to do, we'll say all of it, but you can obviously select whatever you want your whole team to do. And then you can come down here and say, okay, I want these 3 people to do it. And so something I haven't covered yet is sessions. So I've broken this down into sessions where you can have up to 4 workouts a day. I have not really ever experienced even having 3 sessions a day, but it's pretty easy to add another session. I just thought that was probably the most that anyone have. So you take it from Sarah, you select the items you want to copy. You can also copy them to a different date. You know, if you wanted to copy them tomorrow to tomorrow, and then you copy your workout. And then now all of these people have that same workout. And so then I would go through and I'd say, well, this is great. But, you know, Ike also needs to do 107B after this on 3 meter. And so it's a pretty efficient way to make sure that, I know that you end up copying, but it's also, you're able to then modularize each individual's workout pretty quickly. If I'm in a hurry, I can write my whole team's workout in about 20 minutes, and maybe less than that. It depends on what I'm doing. Honestly, most of the time I spend more time writing their warm up and their drills and all that stuff. That takes a lot longer than writing exactly what they're going to do in the pool. So I think this is probably a pretty good time to open it up for questions. Hopefully that was all at least somewhat clear. So yeah, any questions?
Lots of questions.
Great.
You're dealing with how many divers total?
I mean, right now I'm dealing with 5, but I can show you actually quickly. I've written individual workouts for 10, 11 people. And it's, I mean, that's something that I just have done forever. And I find that for the most part, they progress faster if you do that.
Well, I write workouts every day for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, in Excel, and I've got historicals from doing that. So the pain of writing a dryland workout, which is, as you say, more time to try and keep it interesting, got to come up with new stuff, etc. So several questions here.
Yeah.
Can I attach videos, especially if they're going to do it on their iPad for dryland or their phone or whatever? Can I attach videos? Because when I saw, okay, I want you to do, karaoke mountain climbers, and they go, what the hell is that? And
Sure.
now I have to either show them, and I'm old, so I can't do it anymore. So I have to stop and get somebody that does, or pull it up on my phone and say, here it is. Sending it to them individually, because I've got 60 kids.
Right.
So, this becomes a arduous activity if
Sure.
I copy and paste from somewhere else.
Yes. I think yes, in answer to your question, you can attach videos. So what I don't do yet, and I think it's a matter of scalability and just storage, right? It's really expensive to start storing people's videos. So what you can do right now, and I do this frequently. If you go to YouTube, you can embed any YouTube video inside the workout. So I don't know what this is, but you can just copy the URL.
Right.
And inside the workout, if you put it inside the notes section, it will automatically embed it.
Yeah. And then
they click it and it pops up. And so we'll also show you that in there. It'll show up in the accessory like this, but also if they click the link, it shows up a little bit bigger.
Right.
So yes, so YouTube videos are currently the only thing that's supported, which you can find most things on YouTube. But I mean, obviously it's great. It's pretty easy if to upload a video on YouTube in like 30 seconds. If you want to video someone doing it, upload it on YouTube and then put it in here. And then obviously that's historically, logged inside of the workout program. And so now I'll show you a little bit more how that works. It just quickly. And so I've made it so there's this 5-day view, and so it's 2 ahead and 2 behind, and that's really like it's generally good enough. But then there's this calendar view where you can view it exactly like you would view a calendar, and there's a couple of different ways to organize it.
Right.
So you can kind of see what you've done. There is also something that I use quite a bit. There's an easy way to you know let's say I like did a drill on you know this day, right? So I say, okay, we've done this a couple times, and I wanna add this to this session. I can drag it, and now it's going to be in session 2 because I just dragged it into session 2 instead of session 1. But now my session 2 has this skill work in it, and you can drag from anywhere in the calendar into today. Obviously you can.
Does that move it or make a copy of it?
It makes a copy. So default is make a copy, and then if you hold, so if you're moving something around, so you can see if you hold M, you can then move it into,
Yeah.
yeah. So you can move items too, and so now it's in that first session instead. And then it's also a quick way. It's definitely easy, and you can screw things up by copying and moving things, and so it also becomes pretty easy. Well, shoot, I don't want her to do this, and I don't want her to do this, and so then I just drag them in the trash, and they don't exist for Sarah anymore. And it'll actually go, yeah. So then or Savannah. I don't know.
And what about seeing the 3-month, or if I want to periodize either dry land or water, how do I see that?
So I mean, you can see your view here, and so I've if you're kind of trying to give yourself like some frameworks, there's this planner feature. So you come in here, and it's in the calendar view. I think the 7 days a little easier when you're in the calendar view, but you can add things like whatever things, if I could type. And so then you just kind of click wherever you want in this calendar, and all of a sudden you can like kind of create a plan, and then your plan will show up in your planning view. So, and that kind of will remind you what you're supposed to be writing there. But otherwise, I mean, it's like if you're planning your workouts out, or if you're writing them out, it becomes pretty easy to say, okay, well, I'm going to do the 28th, and then you just kind of go through and you write them in that kind of order. So I guess your periodization depends on if you're actually writing the workouts or you're writing concepts for workouts, if that makes sense.
Well, it always starts with concepts, and it's based on backing up from the competition season for the important competitions, not the local, I hold one, he holds one. Exactly. So it backs up from there on a projected basis for each diver. Sully's going to get this far and Tom's going to get that far. And so we're going to back up from that, and we need to do these things to get there. And the theory of that is supposed to be it's a 1-year planning calendar or a 6-month planning calendar.
Right. And so with that, I am a big fan of the what is it called? Continuous calendar. Right. So you can make your range here as big as you want. Okay. And so now there's an entire year's of calendar
right
in here. I don't know how easy that would be for, like, I mean, conceptually, like when you're scrolling down an entire year of calendar, that's a little more difficult. So I might go like 1 month at a time or whatever, but I mean, obviously.
So can we back up and show 12 months instead of 7 days, or 14 months instead of 14 days, so that I could write month by month, In January we're doing this, in February we're doing that, or whatever our cycle year is, to say here's
Yeah.
the overall concept, and then go to that month and say under that month's concept I can do these things, or I want to do these things, so I can prepare for the next month.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like you can change your range to whatever you want your range to be. This format is just obviously like how many days are you're seeing, not the, it's how it's organized instead of
Right.
how it's, but yeah, I mean, you can have any range, and that's the beauty of it, right? Like everybody's like cycles are a little bit different. So you're selecting dates instead of saying in sections, I guess.
But there's not a view that says show me 12 months or 14 months or something like that
Um, are you talking about
without
like,
days.
so you're talking about December, January, like you're only seeing
Correct.
the month?
Correct.
No, but I mean that's definitely, it's not something that I've put in there, but I mean if that's something that's valuable for many people, that's obviously something that I could um,
I,
add.
I don't, Kyle, I don't know how many people would write 30,000 view, 30,000 view, 30,000 foot view programs.
Sure.
Um, but it makes it easier for me when I look at my spreadsheets. Each tab in the sheet is a month, and
Sure.
those months all drill up or down to other sheets. So, like yours, 7 megs of Excel, everything writes to every other sheet based on that month's goals, as a team, as an individual, etc. And I've found, at least for me, that trying to write today's workout in a computer, and I'm a computer guy,
Uh-huh.
is so freaking arduous. It's not even funny. And copying, pasting, especially water workouts, because we change those every day.
Right.
Now we're not doing dry land every day, so I have a little bit of relief from that. And we tend to do level workouts for dry land anyway.
Hmm.
Uh, but for water, for me to take these kids and write, 4V, 4 3s, blah, blah, I can write the 30 to 50 dives they need to do for an entire team in maybe an hour for everything.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly do that using my sheets to write them, but I use them for planning.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that there's definitely huge value, and I mean, and it would be fairly easy to say, well, no, I want only a week view, and what week of the year is this, and then obviously a month view in December, January, February.
Right.
So, I definitely think that there's value in that. It's just something that I haven't done yet. I mean, to be honest with you, the biggest, this was like a mini brainchild of like I write on a calendar all the time, and usually, so when I'm planning workouts, when I'm planning a year, I'll usually just look at a calendar like this and I'll be like, I'll kind of do this both at once. And so this is how I do it. I just go
Yeah.
through days, and this is when the competition is, and I go back a couple days and I said, this needs to be happening here. And so, but I think that would be hugely valuable. So
And so is it portable from, I mean, I've seen you copy and paste. If I want the leg workout we did, because I finally built a really good leg workout for dryland, can I take in some general category space, here's all my leg workouts, and I want to take number 3 and just pop it over there?
yeah, so that is something that I'm still currently developing, and so that's like one of the next iterations. But I mean, I think that fortunately, right now there's at least a history where it's pretty easy to um, go back and say, well, that was on the 13th, and then all of your items from the 13th are there, and so it's pretty easy to copy things forward and backwards. But I do definitely know and see the value for having named workouts, um, that you can insert anywhere because you use them often.
Yeah, like a
Because
library of some sort where I can name the library item and then just say put it in these days, where I could take the month of, you have October up there, and I could say on
yeah,
the 4th, 12th, 20th, and 28th, do leg number 3, and
Right.
it populates.
Right.
Because I've currently got
That would be valuable.
I've
Sure.
currently got a binder of 22 weeks worth of dryland warm-ups. So if I could plug and play and then just be like, boom, week 1 warm-up, week 2 warm-up, week 3 warm-up,
Yeah.
that'd be key.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely definitely one of the things that's in the plans. It just, it takes a while to program something like this. And I think that really making sure that I had the composition of workouts dialed down, um, the composition dialed down, and making it easy to compose a workout first, right? Because if it's not easy to compose your named workouts, then you're not going to do it. So,
And this is obviously some kind of a skin on Excel, but what's the program that's generating it?
no, so this actually has this has nothing to do with Excel. Actually, this is I mean, I've used a few tools, but I've programmed the entire thing. So all of the information is stored not in cells. I mean, in cells, I guess, but it's stored in databases, in tables and databases. So, it's not that was the problem with Excel. And so I've tried to make the interface as much like Excel as possible, because I think that most people who are writing really organized workouts, or at least, workouts that, um, I think that the best way to write a workout is in Excel if you're not using this.
Yeah.
And I know that some people use just like Word, but obviously, like even with Excel, there's like with Excel, at least there's a way to track how many reps you've done, right? And so, or how many reps you have in a practice. And obviously, that's just naturally built into this, where it calculates your reps per
Right.
apparatus. And so, with Word, that becomes you doing math in your
Oh,
head,
yeah.
which
No.
I think is silly. So Excel then becomes the smartest thing. And again, this is not really, it's not just a skin for Excel. I built it from the ground up to
The,
function
the only
like
reason
Excel.
I asked that, when you put in reps and you put in level, it popped up the little red edit comment box, like there was a disagreement. So
Oh, that's actually just telling you that item is unsaved.
okay, okay.
That's
When
what
I
that
saw the
tells me.
little red triangle, it was in the wrong corner of the box,
Yeah.
and it's typically a disagreement with something. So no, that's good to know.
Yeah,
Uh,
that just means that you haven't saved that information. And one of the things, there's a trade-off here. If you're saving every time that you add a new line, that takes a lot of time. So this is the best way to batch edit your workouts, and it's as fast as Excel, and then you save it, instead of saving every
and
time.
yeah, and does it have an autosave function?
It currently does not have an autosave function. Um, I think that I've never I don't think I've never lost a workout that I've written, um, because it's just you're naturally just submitting, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um, and so like when you submit this, you're like, well, I want to make sure that it's in there right, and so you'll just save really quick, and it pops
right,
up.
right.
So you kind of end up naturally auto saving for yourself.
Okay. And what about import export from Excel?
So I have not like created that function yet. Um, like if you can think about, like, I have no idea how people are importing their like I don't know how you're writing your workouts in Excel. So trying to make a standard template of how you're supposed to import it from Excel, um, obviously is difficult. I think that I have imported from Excel before, with someone who is really organized with how they had their data. Um, but I think that would just depend on your Excel spreadsheet, and I could work with you and see if it would be easy to import from Excel. Um, I mean, and also if So if you're doing something the same way every day, it's easy to import from Excel. If you do it a little bit different every day, then things aren't going to end up where you want them.
Yeah, no, that would be a given. I'm just thinking that there could be a mapping function that says put, reps here, put skill there, put notes,
Sure.
Put whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've done a good job of having designated spots for those to begin with, then it's probably fairly easy. If you kind of write it without format, then obviously that's
Oh yeah, no,
going to be hard. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah. What other questions do we have?
I got a list.
Great.
So when you're going through a workout, so say the athletes have completed that day's workout, how can you notate in there whether the diver got stuck, if the diver didn't finish the progression, or if they got stuck on the progression? How can you notate in there to remind you to add it to the following day's workout, or to maybe take notes on that?
Well, I haven't necessarily added that, like a commenting on theirs. So with that said, though, let's see, we'll go to an individual. So you have these, we have feedback items that I've created. So there's two right now. There's two different types of feedback, and I actually just made the comment one work. So so now we have these notes. And so when I go back here, it's going to be, it kind of depends. I mean, like I would probably go into your computer, and now there's going to be this note section. And so you can go, bad day, for Sarah. And so she's actually the only one that has it because it wasn't auto added before when I wrote her workout, but it will be auto added to everybody's workout once you open their workout. But now you've got this bad day notation that will show up in your writing, in your notes. No, sorry. Beyond Sarah.
You've showed that box a couple of times and it says YouTube something video delay something.
Sure. I'll go over that in 1 second.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this tied to a TiVo or something?
So there's weird formatting there, and I'll fix that. But obviously, you can come in here and kind of look at the previous day stack.
Okay.
Really quickly, if you're broadcasting, your workout, you can put in the URL here, and then you can have a time offset. And so usually a 10 second, if I have an iPad with me, a 10-second offset is great. And then when you have their iPad in front of you and you have the link, you paste the link in there, and then you can click on these and it'll add references. So you can go through. I don't know if I have any days with references. It's something that I've recently added. Where would I have references?
That's okay. It's just, it was more a question and I don't want to take away from Zach's list.
Yeah. So back to you, Zach.
The short version is yes.
Yes.
As long as it's a YouTube broadcast. We can do that with Zoom or internal feeds, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, only with, I mean, it's only if you're live broadcasting on YouTube right now.
Okay. Sorry, Zach.
No worries. So you said the athletes have an iPad. So does each athlete need to have their own account then?
So when you create, that's a great question. So we'll go back to this example athlete. I display all of their workouts on one iPad, but when you create an athlete, oops, that was the wrong one. When you create an athlete, you know, Joe Bob. This stuff only moderately matters, not that much.
You've been in Missouri too long, Kyle.
Why is that?
Guy's name is Joe Bob.
Well, you know, so so you'll add the athlete, and then you have this basically this prompt, and so it'll make them a profile, and it'll make them a password, and you can immediately send the details to them, and it just pops up in your regular browser. And actually, oh, there it is. Okay, so it'll send their name and their password, and so it's in your normal email, your default email composer. But also, when they log in, and I don't actually, I can probably, we'll go back to mine. So if you're, I think this is the one. So this is obviously a feature you wouldn't have, but this is kind of how it looks for a workout. And so then it'll show up like this for them on a day-to-day basis. And so it'll give the, and well, in there, so they'll log on to, okay. So this is that they have a username and a password, and they'll log on, and this is what they see. It's their workout just kind of like written out for them.
So does that then only show like that day's workout? You have to send that email every day, or
well, no,
like
no,
will they be able to see like the weekly progression and all that jazz?
So the email was so that they can log into the site. The workouts are always displayed through the site, so they can go and say, well, what did I do on the 14th? And all of their information is shown on the 14th. Does that make sense?
It does. I have 2 pools, so I have multiple pools. Same group of 60 kids, but multiple pools, and they move around. A couple of the pools have 0 to no internet access. Can they log in and save this at home before they go to the pool?
Yeah, I mean, like you can, there's not necessarily a way to save it. I mean, I guess you could screenshot it, but again, what I have done or would do is, you know, I mean, if they're viewing it on their phones is probably going to have internet access, right? But if you're viewing it on an iPad, you know, you just load it before you go to the pool. Obviously, I understand that it's dependent on internet, but I think the trade-offs, and I guess with that, if I had that situation, I'm gonna go back to, oh, I can't go back, I'm gonna log out. If I had that situation, I would print out the workout. So I'll show you that really quick. So if you're in this view, so you've got your workout for the day, but you're in a place where there's no internet, you can, oh man, sorry, that was my fingers. You can print open a PDF,
Okay.
and print a PDF of it. And so that'll download at some point. And then it just pops up like that. And obviously, so this view doesn't work very well. So I would, sorry, the controls for Zoom are in the way. I would go landscape on this one.
Yeah.
And then it'll show you, I mean, it basically fills as best as it can, depending on how long the workouts are.
Sure.
But, you know, there's the if you have to print a paper workout, that's more or less what it's going to look like.
Okay.
And you said you can get up to 10 athletes per page? Yes.
Yeah, and so you know, I'll have, so probably what I'll end up doing, we just have a down year, and we actually have an athlete coming in January, so I'll have 6 athletes. I'll probably end up using 2 different iPads, and I'll put the accessory on one iPad, because they all just kind of look at that, and then I'll put the individual workouts on another, just so it's a little bit bigger, easier. But yeah, I mean, this is exactly what it looks like on an iPad.
You kind of touched on this earlier, but like, so can you copy paste into your workout? So if you've got a drill set that you really like and enjoy in your Excel sheet, could you just copy the cell into the current program?
This moment, no, but I do understand that that would be extremely useful if you could put it in some sort of comma separated value type of format. So it's, with stuff like that, I can kind of help you, because I know that moving into this is difficult. But I mean, I think that writing it out is maybe not the worst thing. Obviously, slightly annoying, but yeah, right now there's not really a great way to copy from stuff that you already have.
And then, so I use a lot of paired stuff in workouts, so I'll do like one front jump paired with two front 1.5s. Is there a way to notate that? And then they do 3 sets of that.
Sure. I mean, I guess it depends on how would you write it on whatever you use now.
Oops, sorry, I was muted. In Excel, I just merge a cell, so I'll use the footnote, the exponent note, and then it'll be like times 2, like 103 times 2 with the exponent note, and then the front jump in there. Then the next cell next to it, I've got a merge cell where it's like, boom, 3 sets.
Sure. I mean, I kind of manipulate. So you'll kind of learn how it displays. And I've toyed around with adding sets. And so, I mean, if that's something that enough people want, I can definitely add sets. But I find that I don't use sets all that much. And if I do, like, I would write something like, 3, and then I'd do 103B. And then, so that's just going to look like you kind of move it over. And so then it's 3 by 3, 103B. And then, it's hard to know what you're saying. Like there's a couple of things that I do, and so I'll do like one.
Kyle, maybe I can help. Zach, what I think you can do with this is in that first cell where he's writing 3 right now, and then the numbers, you could simply do them in the first cell is your jump, in the next cell is 103 or whatever dive you want, and in the next cell after that would be a jump, and it would only be 1. So you could write the gang sets. I would assume that, maybe I shouldn't. Kyle, this looks like it has 8 boxes in each one of these groups.
So so are you talking about this group? There's only 4. There's 4 boxes here.
No, top to bottom.
Top to bottom. So that's something I actually didn't touch on. You can in this, I'm editing the accessory or the apparatuses and locations. You
Right.
can put as many blank rows in a category as you want. So like this, if I have a YouTube archive, like obviously I'm not going to need 10 rows, so I only have 1. Or notes or daily focus, like you're only going to use 1 or 2 lines, so you can kind of edit how that looks for you every day.
And so at what point does it run off the screen, either on the iPad or in a printed workout? If in that box where you just wrote the top and bottom 101, 105, if I put 15 things there, is it going to run off the screen?
Well, so it does a pretty good job. Let's see if I can find some. I have a day when I have, that would be.
Does that address your question, Zach?
To an extent, yeah, but then your numbers are off, so then the number calculation formula.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I see that, and that was a problem in Excel. But anyways, to your question really quick, like you scroll, and so it's always the same view. So, and on an iPad, that's really easy. You just use your finger.
Right.
But Zach, I think that there's also a couple of ways that you can do that. Oftentimes I will put if I want someone to do something in a block, I'd probably do something like this. I'd like title it, and then I'd do like 101B, 2, 303B, and so yeah, and so I think that that's definitely an argument for adding the sets, because then you could add sets, but title, repeat times 3. And then this is actually how our warm-ups are written all the time. Like they'll repeat something 3 times. And obviously I know that it doesn't do a great job for tracking those reps. So I mean, I think that if enough people wanted something like that, I could add the sets, but the more stuff you add, the more complicated it gets.
So I guess another question that applies to you and I particularly, and potentially the others during a summer training, but how would you do a 2-a-day session? So with winter break training coming in, how do
Yeah.
you write your 2-a-day sessions then?
So really easy. I mean, like you just go, so I'm in Sarah right now, I'm actually in session 2, or I switch to session 1. And then on the iPad view, I didn't think that it was necessary to display all of the information at once. So here you'll actually see the sessions broken out. Like you can just scroll and see your entire day in the calendar view. But does Sarah have anything in session 1? So there's, you're viewing right now session 1, and then just the second session, you go and you view session 2, and there's your session 2.
Gotcha. So over the last couple years, without getting into depth of it, I've also been notating in there in my workouts, like data on how many jumps did we do, how many voluntaries did we do, how many drills did we do, how many optionals did we do, because I've encountered a lot of coaches who are just wondering why their kids are always broken. And
Sure.
the answer is their ratios of drill work to actual optionals is not ideal. So I've started tracking that in there. How could I notate that? I know this is, you just said like the more you add, the more complicated it gets, and etc.
Sure. Honestly, the data tracking is not something that I've spent a whole lot of time developing. Now, with that said, the idea of data tracking is the whole idea behind this. So, I mean, I can go back and tell you exactly how many 303Bs you did.
Right.
Like I could go back. I can't right
Because
now because I haven't programmed it in, because I thought other things were a little bit more important. But I think that that's definitely something that's again something that I'm definitely planning on adding, is like, and
Drew has his little assistant, or one of his 3 assistants. One of them's on the pool deck behind a computer, literally being like, all right, each rep, and they're scoring it out. And they're like, all right, well, your 6th rep is your best rep. So when you do a meet warm up, like just finding and tracking that kind of data.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not quite that granularized yet, and honestly, I think that I'm trying to make workout writing easier and better for the broad population of diving coaches, rather than the one who has 6 assistants.
Right.
I mean, good for Drew, right? Like that's amazing, and if I could do that, I would. But I think that spending my time on making things easier for most diving coaches is better than spending my time making things better for Drew.
Fair enough.
So what other questions can I answer?
I think that was my list of things for the time being.
I've got one more.
Sure.
So you've obviously spent a lot of time on this. Is this some sort of open source program? If not, what's your goal down the road? I'll go through and I'll write, my guess would be 150, 200 hours into this program to port in everything that is, quote, standardized workouts and progressions and, all this other stuff. and you come back and say, okay, we're now going to take this live. It's not in beta mode anymore, and it's going to cost you $20 a month per diver or something like that.
Sure.
What's the goal?
I mean, yeah, the goal is obviously, you know, to be able to create some sort of living for myself, right? However, like $20 per diver, I think that, you know, I'm not trying to, and I don't think that I ever would try and make it a huge cash cow. But you know, I mean, like as you develop something like this, like obviously there is, you know, support, and so that, you know, there's no ads or anything like that, and so eventually I think that some sort of it would probably be a yearly fee, but you know, we're not talking anything like Sideline Scout or anything like that. So you
Okay.
know, I mean, you know, I mean, like Sideline Scouts kind of got most people hamstrung now, which good for them. I think they did a great job of that. But you know, obviously I understand. I have a club. It's very small. I've worked in universities that don't have any money, but you know, something that would be affordable, and something that I think that it would be easy to say, yeah, that's definitely worth it. You know, especially I think that for a club coach, I think that this makes a whole lot of sense. If you have, you know, a lot of people trying to collaborate on writing workouts, like, you know, you just go in and look at what's there, and kind of collaborate on the workout. And for college coaches, you know, obviously trying to, it would be something that it is easy to go to some coach and be like, well, you guys pay for these 10 different memberships a year, and this is what we use. So yeah, not looking at it charging hundreds of dollars a year to use it necessarily.
Okay. And I don't have a mobile number for you.
Sure. It's if I can remember it. It changes so much. 575-289-5434.
Um, yeah, so I mean, obviously the input to this, then the other piece that would be of interest would be, you know, Zach is probably the king of writing workouts on a long window. So what did you say, Zach? 22 weeks of workouts? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know a whole bunch of coaches that don't have 22 minutes of workouts written.
Sure. And that's the whole goal, is to get those coaches writing workouts.
Well, I've got a lot of my kids home from college break, right? My age groupers, and they've been telling me tales of what their workouts consist of, and I am appalled because
Yeah.
I've been told my whole life I'm unorganized.
I'll tell you, that's not true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've noticed.
And so, you know, I think just to that point, like this is amazing, because right now, you know, obviously I'm at home. This is my parents' house, and my athletes, my collegiate athletes, aren't doing anything. And so, so they go, all they have to do is log in, and right now, like while they're at home, I'm just writing something accessory. And so, like, you know, this was their workout on December 24th. And so they, you know, they just logged in on their phone, and I didn't have to send it to all of them. You know, they just log in and it's there. And I think some of them like it because they'll be able to log into their phone and see what the workout is going to be before they show up at practice. And some people like that, and some people just don't want to know. I think most people will look if they have the chance. So, but again, like, you're not having to send it to 10 different people, and you're not having to, you know, keep track of that, right? Like, you write it where it goes, and then the proper people see it because it's part of their profile or whatever.
I was going to take it one step further and say, you know, I've got a great shoulder workout, and Zach and I are on the system, and I can send it to him and say, what do you think about this? Or I have a terrible leg workout and I want to improve it. What do you think about this? What should I add, etc. And it's portable. I can send him that snapshot without having, I mean, directly from the system. So it imports to him as a one-step thing.
Yeah, so I haven't necessarily introduced the sharing between different users, um, but that's definitely something that is well within the capabilities. Just hasn't been introduced yet because me and one other guy are using this right now. So sharing things between each
So
other is
like
not something.
the old power chalk where you could follow somebody and you could look at the workouts they're writing and
Yeah.
Um, sure, yeah. I mean, I definitely that's something that um, I haven't created yet. However, I mean, I think that if you wanted to do something like that, um, you know, we could. I mean, did you follow people's workouts? I actually thought about posting my workouts every day. I just haven't done it.
so, like on
Um,
so on on power chalk back in the day when that was a thing, like I followed Mandy Hickson and what she was doing. I followed Jamie and what he was doing, because they'd get up there and they'd not only post like their kids divers, every once in a while they'd make the post and then do like a visual breakdown in slow-mo and
right,
frame by frame and angles and all that jazz.
right. And I think I mean, probably what's easiest or what makes sense, and something that I could definitely do is, kind of an option in your profile to share with the world, and then just have a page that says look at people's workouts, um, and then conversely you could steal from people's workouts too. So
Ah,
Well, right, because I tend to use like I try and be creative with my progressions, but there's only so many ways you can write a progression to back 1.5.
I mean, you just do it, right? Stand on the
Yeah,
board, do it.
yeah, I think that's the right way.
So yeah, I mean, I think that I hope you can see how this can um, make your life easier, and programming workouts and just keeping things in one place. That what I actually love about this, the best thing about this, is that while I can't write a workout on a plane necessarily, I consistently write workouts on different computers. I can go to my office and write a workout. I can sit on my laptop and write a workout. I've been in a place where I'm like, oh shoot, I need to write that workout, and I've used my wife's computer. Like it's online, so you can do it anywhere, which I think really, really changes things um, for just keeping track of when you have to write a workout. You're like, oh well, I don't have my Excel file, or I have to go download it from Dropbox so that I can edit it and then print it out. um, you know, I mean, I don't know how you guys manage that, but it definitely makes things a little bit easier in that way.
yeah. No, I think that's great.
So yeah, I mean, I think, what I'd love to see is, um, for you guys to start writing a couple workouts in here, and just keep notes of things that are really cumbersome, or questions that you have. Feel free to email me or text me about questions. And then, I think that one thing also to note is that it, it can seem a little like when you have nothing in there, it's like, oh man, I have to everything in there. But it's kind of a snowball effect where when you start to add stuff, it goes a lot quicker. Um, so, and then if you have something that you really want in there in an Excel spreadsheet, we can work on how to get that in there for you.
And so a follow up to that would be, um, for Zach or for me, I'll talk about me, I guess. Um, if I'm going to go in and spend the time to build this into the platform, am I going to be able to export it either as a CSV or as an Excel, that I'm not going to lose all the time and effort I had putting it in the first place?
Sure. I mean, that's definitely something that I mean, I haven't wanted to get my data off of here, right? The whole thing for me was storing things in Excel is incredibly inefficient. So now it's on a database that's backed up, and all of this stuff, right? So yeah, I mean, I could work with you on getting your data back out. Um, that's definitely something that I could help with. But obviously, again, that's something that I'm not really super concerned with, because I assume that you're going to want to keep your data on in here because it's going to be easier.
Well, there's no way to know down the road. It's like Power Chalk was a thing. And if you spent, 100, 200 hours a year putting stuff in Power Chalk, it's now just totally wasted time because it's gone.
Sure. I mean, obviously that's, I would say that's anything, any program. If I was to ever say this program is going away, I would definitely, um, you know, make it so that you could exit with your data. But I think the great benefit here is that, yeah, PowerChalk was made by a bunch of people, and then it went away, but I use it every day. So, it's something that I continue to write workouts on, and will continue to write workouts on. I would never go back to an Excel spreadsheet to write workouts.
PowerShock still exists, just nobody uploads to it. You can still access your accounts and
Yeah,
all the archives, but
yeah,
it's not updated.
yeah. And I think that that's the thing, is like, it's definitely scary to go away from something that um, but I mean, how much of your other data is online? Um, I mean, like, I think it's just kind of the natural progressions of where things go, and there's definitely the chance that someone else is going to come and do it better. And um, I mean, I doubt it for diving coaches, especially since I'm building it as a diving coach. I think I understand better than anybody else who's going to try and come in and make it. But that's kind of my um, that's kind of how I think about it. Right? Is, sure, like, there's a possibility that it'll go away, um, but I think that the benefits of your daily use far outweigh that possibility.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time and doing it early enough that family hasn't got up and started running around the house. So this is a good start, and it's interesting. Kyle, it's a big commitment to get
Sure.
into this and write all this stuff and do it in a platform or in a way that's different than what I've done in the
Yeah.
past. So adoption rates are going to be issues for
Sure.
you.
Yep. I definitely understand that.
Okay.
So, I think that one of the things that I think that probably the next thing that I'll work on, and it's probably better than, I really want the named workouts. I really want to do that, but it's a very big undertaking, just to make sure that it is working with the whole rest of the system, right? Like, to make sure that you can copy it where you want it, and then it shows up, right? All of that stuff, it doesn't matter. But I think being able to paste in, like, a text box, where each new line goes, into, sorry, I pointed at my screen, like, if I could paste in a comment box, your 7 different things that your 7 different pieces of a leg workout, and it kind of populates it for you. I definitely see the value in that, and that's something that I've been like, man, I would love to be able to just throw this in here really easily. Um, but right now I've just taken the time to type it out.
I guess one thing I could like to see more of was that you in one of your screens is like, the daily the ratings chart thing where
Hmm.
you had the stars.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is it's pretty simple. Like, I asked them to rate their attitude and their effort, um, every day, so they get a week average on that. That'll average the star ratings per week. Um, and so, I call that feedback, and there's some other options, but essentially you can add them either before the workout or after the workout. Um, and then you can have I think that 5 star, you can go up to 10 stars.
And
Which
they get a sticker at 10 stars.
no, I mean they are like this is feedback that you're requesting from athletes,
Right.
right? So so yeah, I mean I think that 5 stars is the easiest on an iPad, especially when you have multiple workouts showing on the iPad. And it's, like obviously I think it pretty well covers it, but if you had something like, yes, I did this, no, I didn't, obviously binary, good, bad, you can kind of do it however you wanted. And I haven't really spent a whole lot of time building out different types of feedback that you can have, but obviously there's comments and stars at the moment. But yeah, so you can have, you can activate and deactivate questions, and then you can have them automatically added to workouts every day. Or you can have questions that you only ask sometimes that are active and you're like, well, I want to ask this question today.
So I guess when I was looking at that initially, I know that Jack used to do like report cards for the kids.
Sure. Yeah.
So like I thought, is there like a coach evaluate, like a way a coach could go back through and be like, you got an A for today, or like, oh, that was a C+ day.
Yeah, I think at the moment there's not that type of functionality, but right now I think what I would do for that is, if I wanted to do that, I would make another, I don't know if I might have it. I would make another category and then go in right in and afterwards, if that makes sense. So I would say rating, and then I would just go in their workouts afterwards and type the rating, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I know like one thing last year at the zone meet, I was talking to Katie Hazelton, and she was talking about the system she uses when writing workouts. It's like, all right, today you're going to do backs, but you're going to focus on takeoffs. And then today, when you do your inwards, you're just going to focus on entry. We don't care about any other part except for the part of focus on that thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that that's great, right? Because I can go, on 405C, focus on takeoff, 3 meter. And then it's just like it's kind of formatted for you so that they can, you can write anything in there, right? Like you can tell them absolutely anything by dive, or I mean, like I'll often do this, like do this in a certain way, and I will title, essentially I'll title their entire workout as do this in a certain way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. As far as like from an evaluation standpoint.
Yeah, I really haven't standardized how you would evaluate athletes day to day. But I mean, obviously, again, like the great thing about this is if enough people are interested in the feature, it's just a matter of me adding the feature.
Because I think on the age group level, that's a little more important than it is at the NCAA level. Because when little Sally shows up to a meet and mom's like, well, why did Sally suck at this meet? It's like, well, if we go back through and look at Sally's daily performance chart, this is why Sally sucked.
Sure. And I mean, I think that's something that, it, it's really easy. I think that right now the system accommodates for that just a little differently. So for example, if I was going to do that, I would make a feedback, and then I would say, like Sally's effort, or I would say effort, and then I would say, effort by coach, right? And then Sally will rate her effort. And if she happens to fill in your star rating, like you just fill in your star rating, right? So that's definitely something that you can look at with someone right now, is you could just have a box that you go back in, and you rate them after the fact. And so if I was going to do that, we'll go into a day that I have workouts for. And so, you know, none of these people, so attitude might be them rating and effort might be me rating. And so they'll rate their effort. And then I can open my computer up later and I can quickly go through and say, you know, these are the ratings that I'm giving you for that day. And then it's in their profile.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I think that yeah, to Eric's point, there is some work to get, you know, to make it work for you. But I think that it's definitely worth trying it out for a week, writing workouts in it for a week and seeing how it works for you. And if it doesn't, you know, that's great. But if you know, a little change here or there would help you a lot, then I'm interested in making it so that everybody can use it or that it's useful for everybody.
How easy is it to write it on the iPad, right? So like typically right now, you know, I've moved to the time of year where I'm handwriting most of my workouts because
Mhm.
everybody's just that specified. And I like to see the look on their face today, like, oh, you know, Sally's having a good day today. We should do gainers because she hates gainers. Or like, oh, Sally's having a terrible day today. Maybe today's the day Sally does fronts because she's gonna crush it no matter what kind of day she's having. How easy would it be to just show up on deck and then just write it while you're sitting there while they warm up?
Yeah, I mean, the I mean, it's as easy as anything. I mean, it'd be as easy as doing it in Excel, right? Do
So less
Excel on a
easy
phone.
than pencil and paper.
Sure. I mean, you know, always going to be less easy than pencil and paper. You know, I think that like, or on a whiteboard, sure. Um, you know, with that said, I think that, you know, the implementation of that, right? Like, you get to see their workouts when you get to see their faces when they see the workouts anyways, and you can go on your phone and like edit stuff, um, you know, while you're sitting there, and that's what I do more. But I mean, they're not going to actually be able to see you on the iPad writing anyways. So if it's already there, I don't know how big of a difference there is, if that makes sense. But again, like if you have a template and you're just adding a couple things, um, you know, it's pretty easy to add or remove things. But again, as easy as it is on a phone or an iPad to begin with, depending on if you have a keyboard.
Fair enough.
So
Appreciate everything you've done here and the willingness to share it. Um, Obviously, the longer term of import export ability. Um, you know, what I found, because I did some of this on Google Sheets for a while,
mhm.
so kids, you know, I could write the workout, not bring printouts to the pool. You know, one of our restrictions, because we're dealing with age group kids and not college kids on a regular, but I don't do a college team, was they're supposed to put their phones in the lockers or leave them in their bags and not supposed to be playing with them because it distracts and blah blah.
Right.
Um, and so when we did the Excel, that's when we found out the pool didn't have very good Wi-Fi. So it was okay, take a print of this and bring it. And now they're on their phones. And while most of them are doing similar things, when it got to the individual pieces, all of a sudden I'm looking at, you know, 15, 20 phones per session when they're saying, you know, I can't do that, I don't want to do that, or, you know, whatever the story is, versus a couple of pieces of paper taped to the wall for an hour, 2 hours while they're going through and doing it.
Yeah, and I think the easy answer to that is if I had I mean, I didn't show it to you guys, but I had a really robust spreadsheet, right? So I had this spreadsheet, and this actually wasn't even the most robust. Actually, this is a bad one. But I mean, this is what my spreadsheet looked like.
Yep.
And it was like I had gotten to a point where I had each individual's name and it populated in these sheets, right? If Google Sheets had the functionality to manage that,
Yeah,
I would be using Google Sheets instead of this.
right.
I
Right.
would not have built this if Google Sheets could do what this does.
Yeah,
It
but
just
it
can't.
yeah, no.
So you know, I mean, and I mean, when you get tons of data in Google Sheets, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And
Even
so
minor
this,
data.
yeah. And so this obviously, like, you know, it's a database. And so, you know, there's tens of thousands of rows in it now, and tens of thousands of rows versus millions of rows in a database doesn't make any
Right.
difference.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, I would say that the easiest, I would condense it down to begin with as little as small as you can. And so if you have, I mean, if you have a group with 3 people, that would be probably the easiest way to try it out. Or I think maybe even if you had a group of people that did the same thing every day, you know, you start writing your warm-ups on this for everybody. And
Right.
then I assume, does everybody do that? Like if I was running a club team, I would not waste my time writing a different warm-up for every different group.
No, they do the same warm up as the college kids.
Yep. Yeah. So exactly. So I would write my warm-ups on this for sure. Right. And then, you know, if I had one group that it was easy to program for, or like 3 or 4 people, that it was easy, you know, that it made sense that these people need individual program. And so, you know, I think that a club team that would look like an elite group. And, you know, for a college team, it might look like everybody, but that's not that hard. Or, you know, like you just take a volunteer and say, who wants their iPad, their workout on iPad? I'm going to try this thing. Who wants their workout on an iPad?
So,
So,
when you said like, so when you're grouping athletes together,
mhm.
do you have to create a new group for them? How do you
There's
do
no way
that?
to necessarily group athletes. Um, it's either there's individual athletes, and so if I had a group, I would just call the athlete the group name,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's
You'd say you're FC14 instead of Savannah.
exactly, yeah. And I do have like an example of that, and so you can go through and edit your athletes, and I have oh no, I changed it. But yeah, I mean the first name and the last name would just be the group name. And then, you know, on an iPad, you whoever gets to check off the thing checks off the thing if they're doing it together. Um, but yeah, that's how I would do groups.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. If you have any other questions, let me know. And you know, I'm definitely the reason that I'm you know, kind of beta testing this with people is to try and get a better idea of how it's going to fit with the way that other people write workouts, because I know you write workouts differently. Um, and so, you know, the benefit of being in here is that you know, a lot of your ideas or the way that you write workouts will hopefully I'll be able to accommodate for that, or make it easier to do it the way that you naturally think about how a workout should be created.
How difficult would it be for you, instead of writing a map program, which I think would be the easiest way? I'm pretty standardized in how these are put in to Excel, uh, but instead of a mapping program where I say, you know, row X is this and row Y is that, and column and, you know, blah blah blah. To have you write a Excel sheet that would then be hard mapped to the program to be able to import directly from Excel.
Sure. Well, I think what would be easier, and I'm definitely like, especially for the people on this call, if you have a subset of data in an Excel spreadsheet, I think the easiest thing is to send me that spreadsheet and the data that would be most valuable for you to have in there. And I would figure out the best way to import your data in there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So yeah, I think that definitely, I mean, because if you have a spreadsheet, I mean, like a standard spreadsheet mapping would be helpful, but you're just going to spend a ton of time copying and everything because it's all by date, you know. So I
Yeah.
think that would definitely be a looking at your individual spreadsheets
Okay.
type
Yeah,
of thing.
I'm thinking bigger picture, longer term. As
Yeah,
as you try and roll this out, there's no way you're going to take 100 coaches, individual Excels, or, the people that write it in Word, and you just kind of giggle.
Yeah.
And so to have something more standardized, more industry universal when it comes to software, to have a mapping function, as
Right.
long as it's defined on your end, then we're going to have to figure out on our end
Yeah.
how to make that map actually work, instead of, like Zach said, he's got these series or sequences that he wants to do. That's not going to work, because all of a sudden you've added an extra comma or semicolon, and
Right.
it becomes lines.
Yeah, sure, exactly. And so I think, there's definitely, even with the quick, like just importing blocks, I think that there's definitely a way to do that where it's maybe not as detailed in where you would normally put it, but that it's all in a way that makes sense, at least to look at for historical purposes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, these are things that I've definitely considered. Just, honestly, hasn't been that big of an issue when me and another guy are writing workouts
Right.
together. So.
Oh yeah. No. I'm thinking longer term. And is there a reason that it's dive oriented instead of just workout oriented?
I mean, really, it is workout oriented. Like, I mean, like locations can be named anything, and that's something I didn't cover very well. Like, you can have 10 different pools in here. You can add as many locations as you want and as many apparatuses to each location as you want. So no, it's just called DiveStat because that's when I was like, 10 years ago, I did some stuff and I was like, well, that's a cool name. And really, I think that it should be named something more workout focused, like just to workouts instead of diving. But diving is a subset of people that I know. And so getting
Sure.
it good with the people that I know is going to be easier than, dealing with
It
CrossFit gyms
certainly
or
is.
whatever else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think it's an exciting step that is going to get us out of piece of paper and Excel. But we want to be careful how much. Anyway, I'm babbling at this point. Zach, it was nice to see and hear you. And hopefully we get a chance to put things back together again as we settle into February, March, April.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys. Thanks for taking the time again. I definitely encourage you to find an easy group of people to write workouts with and try it for a week. And if you have a ton of problems, or hopefully you have no problems, but let me know what you think and what would make your life easier.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.